Welcome back, everybody. DrGiggy again on the mic for what's going to be the second part of my NL400 video for tables. I'm taking back exactly where I left, having ace jack on the button. Here I'm gonna bet. As a bluff, he didn't continue on that flop. Same guy as earlier. He might check call. Don't think he's check raising ever. So he check call probably as a middle pair that was afraid of a raise on the flop that I would have done with a draw a lot, and he wouldn't have able to play the end. Okay, here guys, the ace jack end. Actually, first thing about it that I forgot to mention is that he raises from under the gun, which changes the dynamic of the end a lot. I'm talking a lot when I speak about his range, about middle pairs, about top pairs type of hands, and that's a lot because he raised from under the guns. Let's say he has Jack 10. He raised under the gun with Jack 10, and the board falls out like this. Assuming that the guy knows how to play, and that's probably the correct way to play the end, he's not gonna value bet that much on that type of board, in my opinion, because he's gonna have the bottom of his value betting range. Let's say he raised Jack 10 from the cutoff. I call from the button, board falls out like this. He's gonna value bet Jack 10 a lot more in these kind of spots because his range is way more heavily towards air when he's from the cutoff. But when he's from under the gun, his range is a lot more pairs, big pairs, some things like ace 10, pocket jacks, pocket queens, or whatever. So he's gonna try and go for pot control a lot more with his top pair, a pair of eights, pair of nines, or something like that, which is, in my opinion, the correct way to think about a hand. If you have, like, let's say, guys in his spot, pair of tens, pair of eight, pair of nines, you'd better go for pot control more often, unless you have some reason to think that he's gonna call you down a lot and that he's not gonna bluff raise you. You'll have to go for pot control and check call more often than not. If, let's say, I'm gonna check bet and just give it away, probably has something, any pair, and since he's checking down, he probably has a plan of check calling down. Okay, once again here, the ace jack hand, I did not 2 and 3 barrel this because of the reason I mentioned earlier. Since when he check calls the flop, his range is more weighted towards middle pair, top pair that he's going for pot control. He's gonna assume that he induced bluff a lot from me when he checks every street, so I can't really 2 and 3 barrel that kind of spot. If, let's say, same hand, he raised from the cutoff, and now he check calls the flop, I'm gonna 2 and 3 barrel more often because he's gonna have hands like, I don't know, pair of sixes or a pair of threes, 4 or 5s more often. And every single card that can fall on turn and on the river is kind of a scary card for him. So it's gonna scare him a lot, and he's gonna just be more afraid of bets with these type of hands, which is kind of stupid in my opinion, but people think like that a lot when they're in the middle of a hand. They don't have that much time to think. Let's say check calls a flop with pair of fives, assuming that he was on the cutoff, let's say, and now the turn is 9, and I bet again he's gonna just let it go because the board is getting scary and everything, and he only has a pair of fives. So that's why I did not 2 and 3 barrel. But exact same hand, exact same spot, he's from the cutoff, I'm 2 and I'm 3 barreling this a lot more often than when he's from under the gun. So forget it. Ace jack. I think his call on the flop is just horrible because I'm having a low pair, middle pair way too often that I'm just predicting when he's checking. But like I said, if he has something like Jack 10, a check call on the flop is very good because if he's betting on the flop, we're like 250 big blinds deep. And let's say he bets with his Jack 10 on the flop, I'm gonna raise this flop a lot as a bluff. I would probably have raised with my ace jack. Because if he has any one pair type of hands, it's going to be real tough to play. If a spade turns, I'm going to bluff him out of the pot. If something like 7 or 8 or any card that completes some straight draw or something like that, I'm probably gonna bluff him out of the pot as well, and he can't, when I'm raising, he can't really like repop me with one pair type hands, because he'd have to call a shove, because I would have combo draws a lot, but it would just be stupid because I'm having a set as well way too often. So all of his options suck when I'm raising that flop as a bluff when he's out of position that deep. So that's a good thing to note, guys. Against guys on boards where the guys is most likely to have one pair type hands, it's great when you're deep and in position to bluff raise and second barrel and three barrel after that, because you always put them in bad spot. So that's pretty much it. On a board like, let's say Queen, let's say King, Jack 10 would have been horrible, because he has two pair a lot, he might have a straight, might have a set, anything like that. It's not horrible, but it's less good, because he doesn't only have one pair type hands when he's raising from under the gun, these type of boards, but he raised from under the gun. If he does not just have one pair, he can't have two pairs. He's not raising deuce 6 or 10 deuce or 10-6 under the gun. So he has a set or one pair type of hands. Okay, here once again, last thing about Ace Jack N. He ended up having Ace Jack himself, which is a pretty bad play for a lot of reasons. But I was speaking about bluff raising that flop. The key here is of how to think about the end is to put yourself in your opponent's shoes. And that's the thing that I do, like every time I'm heads up, taking a flop heads up with a guy, I put myself in his shoes. And I give myself the most probable holding that the guy could have. So here, let's say pocket jacks. You have pocket jacks under the gun, you raise, there's a flop, you're very deep against guy, you decide to bet. What's the last thing you want him to do is to raise you on that flop, because it's gonna be completely unplayable. So just thinking about the end that way, guys, just putting yourself in your opponent's shoes, you're often gonna discover some new lines, some new bluffs that you never thought about, because you're gonna realize that some plays you can make can put the guy in bad spots once again. So that's it. That's something that I'm asking you guys. Every time you take a flop heads up with a guy, put yourself in his shoes and try to imagine how your opponent, which is you, could give him a lot of trouble. And with his one pair hands, it's really tough to play that deep. Here I'm gonna 3-bet. The guy's only 100 big blind deeps. I don't really have a read on him, but I have some hands on him playing 22-15. It seems like a standard tag. I have no problem re-raising these type of hands against standard tags that normally don't really know how to play 3-bet pots. Actually, not a lot of people know how to play 3-bet pots at these limits. So try 3-bet a lot, guys, when you target someone who sucks in 3-bet pots. I'm not having great starting hands right now. Only some stupid thing. Here I'm gonna c-bet in raising there for sure. I'm gonna c-bet in two people because. Okay, here King 6N. Just a quick note on multi-way pots. What you want to do in multi-way pots is pretty much the exact same thing that I was talking about in heads-up pots earlier, is to put yourself in your opponent's shoes. Now, the only thing you have to do is act like you're the guys to act in the multi-way pot and tell yourself how you will play. And that's so easy, because in multi-way pots, people play so straightforward that they're so previsible. You can just take away the pot every time no one has anything. So here, if I'm the surfer, Amarizia, I'm pretty much never floating, because there's a guy to act after me, and I'm kind of in a squeeze position, and I'm not really calling with low pairs. for the exact same reason. I'm in a squeeze position, I have someone to act after me, and the guy, the original raiser, c-bet in 2 players, so he's more likely to have a big end. So I'm gonna fold pretty much everything in my range except big ends and big draws, but big ends and big draws don't come that often. So we can pretty much eliminate that guy from the equation. So now there's only Sprayo left, and Sprayo is kind of a fish. So if I'm the fish, I'm playing 35-16. I know that I could have anything from the small blind when I call, not anything, but pretty much anything, very large range of hands. And I still realize that the guy is betting into 2 people, so he's more likely to have something, plus I'm going to be out of position for the rest of the end. And most of the time I just flopped nothing, so I'm going to fold. So given these 2 facts, these 2 guys are going to fold so often that I have to c-bet. Maybe the guy who's more inclined to call here, that is going to call more often, might be Sprayo, because he's the last to act in the hand. He's going to close the action. But personally, I don't mind that really much, because I'm going to be in position on him for the rest of the end. So I could spike a king, or I could bluff him out with an ace or a queen. So I still have a lot of options, since I'm going to be in position for the later streets more often than out of position. So that in multi-way pots, please guys, do the exact same thing that I was talking about earlier in heads-up pots, and you're going to realize that it's so easy to do it because people play so straightforward in multi-way pots. You don't want to be the guy that plays straightforward in them. You want to be the guy who goes for the dead money every time no one wants it, because no one ever wants dead money in multi-way pots. These people, this one on the button might call with some things, and I look stronger when I c-bet in 3 people. I'm actually almost more confident when c-betting in more people, not maybe 5 people, because someone always has something, but in like 3 or 4 people, you look so strong that it's pretty easy to know where you're at when the end develops after that. Like nobody's ever floating you in multi-way pots and things like that. So I really love to c-bet in multi-way pots, so you get a lot more credits. People normally tend to be afraid to do that, but believe me, it works a lot. Here, again, the 16-12 guy calling from the blinds. Another gun opening probably has any pocket pair, so that's a great board to c-bet and make him fold his any pocket pair. Here, a pair of 8, middle pair. I don't think I have any value in betting. This guy might check raise as a bluff sometime. Like I said, he seems like a normal tag, but normal tags do that sometimes. So I don't want to be bluffed out of my hand. I'm just going to try and check it down. He bets turn 21. Probably has something. Probably has an ace or something like that. Because if he had low pair, probably will just try and check it down since I have checked the flop. Here, the 4th hard on the river. No value there. Just hope it gets checked down. I'm just going to fold. So he probably has a hand, because like I said, he would just check hands like 4s and 5s and something like that. And the ace and the king are in the range of his other hands that are not pairs. So I'm pretty much in. Here, I don't have the odds to set mine, so I'm just going to throw a hand away. I'm gonna check. Here I'm just gonna, we're so deep, like everybody's has 200 big blind deep. I'm just gonna, nope, misclick. I wanted to raise 12, sorry. But I was going to raise 12 just to make the pot bigger, so if I had set one of these 3 actually, bad players would have been more tempted to pay me all along the end, but I misclicked that. Anyways, the flop sucked. Here I re-raised Turtle-licious on the big blind with 7-5 suit, which I think is a great hand to re-raise with, because it adds a lot of deception to your end. I actually, especially that deep, I prefer re-raising with 7-5 suit than with ace-queen of suit, let's say. If you have question on why, that might be the subject of a video. I don't want to explain everything about that, but practically the guy's never putting you on 7-5 suit type of hands when you're re-raising. And when you're deep, that's important, not to have a very strict end range. When an ace flops with ace queen, you're not getting any value, because people tend to just put other people on ace king and some things like that when they re-raise. Okay, here, the pocket deuce and upper right. I'm trying that bluff into two people on that turn, because I'm doing the exact same exercise that I was talking about earlier in a multi-way pot, and that is to put yourself in your opponent's shoes. Another very important thing about multi-way pot is that the most important guys to focus on are either the original raiser and the last guy to act, because they are the two guys that are the most likely to not play that straightforwardly. So here, if I am pure morning with the original raiser and the last guy to act in that end, I'm putting myself in this position. So my reasoning here, if I am pure morning, I have to value bet on the flop every single of my big hands, because first there are a lot of draws. There's a fish in the end who's the last player to hack, who's going to pay me with a lot of things, and the most aggressive player on the small blind, DrGiggy, is not going to get too tricky here, because it's a dangerous board, and he's not going to check raise me as a bluff like ever, because he's in a squeeze position, so he's going to play pretty straightforward. So I just have to bet my big hand for value every single time here. Given that fact, on that turn, now I'm assuming that pure morning never has a big hand. There's only stronger that I have to make fold, and I think it's folding often enough for me to go and try to bluff that turn. Sorry, I'm trying to bluff that turn every single time. Plus, I am still representing something good that I might have gone for a check raise on the flop with. So they should still be afraid. I could have hair, but I could have hand as well. So let's see what happens. It actually doesn't turn out very good, but I'm still comfortable with my play here. Yeah, try the bluff turn bluff, because pure morning check on such a dry board probably has nothing, but forget it. I don't have a clue what these guys. Stunger could have anything right now. Could have a draw or anything like that, and I don't know why pure morning's calling. Probably a get shot like ace jack or ace queen, something like that. But I'm so afraid that Stunger has a king or something like that that I'm just gonna check. I know both guys have busted flush draws, which is not too likely. Jack queen made it there too. So would have been stupid to bet at that river, but I'm really comfortable with my turn bluff. He had king queen, which he decided to not bet on the flop. In such a dry board against an opponent, Stunger, who's not really good and is probably just a station with his draw, something like that. And I think it's a big mistake to just check back his king queen on the flop. Just stupid. So people on that board against bad opponents, especially when the bad opponent is the last one to act in the end, so he's most likely, like when he's betting, I'm not too likely to bluff there, because I know that I have a guy to act after me. But the last guy acting after you bet is a fish. Just value bet your top pairs, please. Especially with a queen kicker. Just check back for a pot for protection purposes and bet the river when all draws. Well, you have to bet the river for value. If Stronger had, let's say, 10 or something like that, most of the draws have bust. Yeah, it just has to bet for value. It was an horrible play. Doesn't value enough. King, queen, king, 10, 339 board. I'm gonna remember that hand, so I'm gonna remember this guy. That he can check back top pairs in such a spot. Here for people, limp pot. I limped because it would have been horrible, I think, to raise, especially that deep against, with such a hand, would just sucked a lot. So I prefer playing a limped pot and just value betting my ace, pretty good kicker, Now Trips, pretty good kicker to the end. He might have a busted draw. I'm gonna check. He's betting an ace anyways, and he's having busted draw a lot. Here I'm just gonna call down, because when people call from the blinds and dunk needed to you nonstop, yeah, he had a busted draw. It's very often a random bluff, believe me. So just don't scare them with a raise. Just try and call down, and you'll be surprised with what these random people turn over on the river. Okay, here my Queen Jack hand. What I'm talking about is something that I called the DrGiggy theorem, actually. Is that when a guy dunk leads into you on the flop, he normally has nothing, unless it's a good player. When a random guy, actually, and I haven't seen that guy that often, I don't have a read really on him, but when a random guy dunk leads into me, he never has anything. That's the way I'm gonna approach the end normally. So here I'm just ready to call down with a lot of things. I would have probably called down with a weaker hand as well. I wouldn't have value bet the river with a weaker hand, but here with top pair, he might have a middle pair as well, might have a, I don't know, pair of eights, or he could have river the 10 or whatever. I'm gonna value bet the river. But I'm assuming when a random guy dunk leads into me, guys, trust me, just assume that they have anything, any two cards that they have called with pre-flop. Here I was not lucky, and maybe that guy wasn't the best example because he plays very tight. So that I might have not chosen the best guy to talk about that, but in general, when a random guy dunk leads into you, either bluff raise him or call him down if you have anything. You're gonna be very surprised at what these people turn on in the end. When they turn over their card, they have pretty much anything, so that's it. Very bad, King Queen, too bad. But it's a good thing to do, to just call down a lot. Here I'm gonna call pretty quick, so he thinks I'm weak. He thinks I have a middle pair more often, so I think he's gonna two-barrel me more often when I call real quick on the flop. No, I'm gonna check back for... I could have value bet, but I don't think he's calling with many hands that I beat. I'm just gonna try to do a value bet. Probably has nothing. Maybe he had a check on the turn, which might call me. But he probably had nothing anyways. Like I said, I called really quick on the flop, because at the level of thinking I'm at against this opponent, I think that he's gonna think that I'm weak when I'm calling fast. We've not played enough hands together to go to the next level for him to think that, that I'm gonna be strong when I call quickly, because I do like a reverse timing tail. I just think he's gonna go for a standard timing tail. But anyways, probably had nothing and didn't want to barrel that. Was a pretty standard end, actually. I might miss a couple of hands while I'm talking about other hands. So if you guys have any questions in that videos against hands that I did not talk about, on ends I didn't talk about, sorry, just ask me in the comments that you leave me in the videos, and I'll answer every single question about the video. I just love to hear from you guys. If you have any feedback on anything actually with my videos, it's my first one. And if I'm making English mistakes, I know I'm making some, but if I'm making big ones, because my English is not my first language, so I'm doing my best out here. Just hope that you guys understand what I'm saying. But if you have any comments, if I'm doing any mistakes or anything like that, just let me know, please. I'll be more than pleased to hear from you guys. If you have any question, if you have handy stories to send me, if you have videos to send me or anything, just let me know, please. Jeez, I'm getting bad starting hands. I'm gonna try open up my game and get some more interesting spots. 14. check. I don't really mind raising any two cards from the button against the 23-13 bad guy and a kind of regular who's playing so net like 16-14. I'm raising actually any two from the button. I think it's profitable to raise any two from the button and almost any two from the big blind, from the cutoff, sorry, as well. Here I'm gonna check and call a bet because I don't want to get raised with my 9-7. So I just hope that he bluffs. And I turn a flush draw to the 9. I'll wait to see his bet amount. He's betting 37, which is... He bet really low on the flop, on that flop. I actually don't really know why he's betting so little on the flop. Probably a lot of time because his plan was to second barrel me, because he knows that I'm gonna call with more hands. I can call with almost, not, well, I shouldn't, but I could call with gut shots or thing like that, like ace-9 or ace-10 when he's betting so small. So I think he's gonna two barrel a lot because of his small first barrel. So I'm gonna call again. Plus I have some redraws, which might be interesting. I have a pair and a couple of draws. I think my equity is pretty good, so I'm gonna call. River, I'm probably gonna fold to a bet, depending on his bet. E5. Yeah, that's small and flop. E5 looks bluffy to me actually, but I know he's value betting a lot. He might have a jack. Jack certainly is in his range as well. I was just more inclined to think, because of his bet, that he might have a weekend because of his small bet and his second barrel. But now that he's refiring the river again, he might have nothing at all also. Good. But he might have just river the queen with something like queen 10 or something like that. That he's value betting for sure, since I don't represent anything. These queens always good. And I think this guy can read hands pretty well from my past experience with him. So I'm just letting it go. I don't mind my call on the turn because I have a lot of equity. I have gut shot. I have flush draw as well with my 9. Plus I have a pair that he's going to check back a lot, etc., etc. So I think it was pretty good. Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to call here. Hear that, guys? Just check min raise me, and we're deep as hell. I'm just gonna repop him, because when we're so deep, if we would be like 100 big blind deep, I will never repop. Not never, but I would be less inclined to repop here, because he would go broke with a lot more hands. He would go broke with ace-10 a lot and something like that. But when I repop here, I put him in such a bad spot. He pretty much has to have a set or the nuts or whatever to go over the top again. Okay, here my ace-3 hand, my flush draw. I think it's a good example of adjusting to the situation and adjusting to the timing and the betting tails that the guy has given me here. I'm talking about him having a set that is like the only situation that my re-raise will be disastrous, but in my opinion, he's like never holding a set here, because he wouldn't check min raise me when we're that deep with a set, so I can pretty much eliminate a set from his possible holding. So there's a flush draw that is left, and I think he's gonna call my 3-bet with a flush draw, because we're really deep, and he's gonna think he has great odds and great implied odds. So I'm not afraid of him folding a flush draw, which will be a disastrous result. But in my opinion, he's gonna call, because he looks like a bad opponent actually. The other and now most probable holding, given his timing and sizing tails, is a medium pair, a pair like 8s or 9s or a pair 10 or a pair 7, whatever. And now I want these hands to fold because I don't have any implied odds against these hands if I'm hitting my draw, and it might be risky to just call and try to bluff him out of the pot if I'm not hitting, because when I just call the flop, he could put himself in a check call mode for the rest of the hand. So I want him to fold these hands. So given the fact that he pretty much never has a set here, first, second, that he's going to call his flush draws, even if I 3-bet him, because he looks like a bad player, and that I want him to fold his most probable holding here, which is middle pair, I think 3-betting is the best play. If you had raised, if you had taken some time before check raising me and raised me like 3.5 times my bet, or 3 times or 4 times my bet, that would have been a clear, easy, just call in position, because he could have had a set way more, and I'm getting great implied odds. So that's it. So such a passive opponent's probably just gonna call and give me my free turn if he has anything. And he might be bluffing as well. He might have something like 6s or 8s or 9 that he's trying to know where is at, and I'm just making him fold these in, which is a good thing in my opinion. Try to check down that pair of 8s, which is not good. Good thing a diamond didn't come. Here I'm gonna just call my ace queen on the small blind out of position. Gonna try and play a small pot. I'm gonna check. Gonna call real fast again, same guy as earlier. I again think that he'll be more inclined to second barrel if I call really fast. Here I'm just gonna value bet my queen 10 against middle pair type and 7 or 8 scores, because with these stats, the guy has that a lot of time, pretty much always. Check. I think he's folding to a second barrel because he looks so weak, so I'm just gonna value the river. Bad card, but probably have the best hand anyways. Here the guy bets 32. I have an ace, so I'm gonna call. Might have anything. Quads. Ooh. Forget it. Oh, that's a tricky spot. I'm gonna... No. Phew. I'm gonna try and make it. Okay, here, quick note on my ace-jack hand that I call the river with my ace-high. It might have been a small mistake, maybe a little too optimistic, but then again, people turn over random cards on the river so often that I think it's not that big of a mistake if it was one at all. I'm still comfortable calling with ace-high on the hand that he had quads. He ended up having quads that time, but since he bet the pot, he has to have a big hand, and big hands don't come that often, and in his head, I can't have anything because I check every single street, so he's gonna try and bluff sometimes. Now, the queen 10 hand on the down right, I'm value betting this river always because first he doesn't have a king. There's no king in his range unless he has like king queen, but anyway I was already beaten, and that's just like one end. And that guy I think is like a semi-thinking player, and he's thinking just far enough to know that I'm gonna try and bluff that king very, very often. So he's gonna be curious with his small pockets, which is like 98% of his range here, and he's gonna call down a lot, so you have to value bet these type of hands. Don't value bet them too big against these type of players, because he's just gonna be scary if you try and value bet too big, and he's gonna fold. They're not thinking far enough to really break down your bet sizing to what you could have and what you could not have, etc. He's just calculating odds on his call actually, and I think my 47 amount here was a perfect one for him to call with his middle pairs, which is what he has like every time. I did not bet the turn because I think against that particular opponent, who once again is a semi-thinking guy, he's gonna fold that turn a lot because he's just gonna be afraid with his middle pockets. He's gonna be afraid of facing another bet on the river, and he doesn't want to get involved in too big of a pot in such a position. So he's gonna, in my opinion, fold the turn too often. So I prefer going for my value on the river. So that's it. I try the value bet, and let's see how it goes. Look, I'm bluffing the king, so he calls with his middle pair. Okay, one last thing here about the Queen 10N is that against a good player, against a good thinking player that I have some history with, I would have been more inclined to rebet the turn and go for 3 streets of value, because I know he's gonna think that I could be 3-barreling him a lot because his range is like middle pairs. So against a good thinking player that I have history with, that he knows that I'm aggressive, I'm gonna go for 3 streets of value way more often. But against this like tight, scared guy, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go for 2 streets of value, and I prefer taking my second street of value on the river for the reasons I've stated earlier. 184. 184. Okay, so he can have spades. He can. Because he's second barreling a lot, and he's second barreling spades a lot as well. Could have ace king as well as value. Could have river queen 10. Could have so many ends actually, I think. And I don't know if he's bluffing that much. Queen 10, nice value bet. Don't know if he has enough balls to bluff, to 3-barrel me, win the flush draw it, and things like that, but I'm representing exactly what I have, and you know that I can't call with that. But he has a hand so often, the board is so, I'm just gonna let it go. Actually, I'm letting it go because people don't tend to bluff other people when they're reading these people on an ace high board, because people know that, people that can play know that other people just don't like to fold a pair of aces. Nice result here. I flipped the nuts. I don't know if you follow me. If you have any question on what I just said, just ask me. But I just think that he's not gonna bluff a lot because he's putting me on an ace a lot, and he's not gonna try to make me fold my ace too often because he might be afraid that I'm gonna call with that said ace. Here against Younger, I'm gonna bet. That's another one of these spots where I'm not afraid to get bluff raised, because he's not even raising queen, king, queen. He just plays like a freaking station. So I'm just betting to make him pay his draws, make protection as well. And I don't think he's floating like ever, and I don't think he's bluff raising like ever. So against a good player, I would probably not have bet. Probably would just have to check call, try to keep the pot as small as possible, and not get bluff and go to showdown. But against a bad player who's never bluff raising, I'm less afraid of that. I have no problems. Here I'm valuing my pair of tens for sure. My turn. Pretty interesting card. The king is not in his range. I'm gonna bet really small actually. Okay, here my 10-8 hand. Normally, you might say, hey, that's a spot for pot control, and you should check back the turn. But in that exact case, I think first I have the best hand, like so often, like always here. I'm not afraid of a king or something like that. That I want to value bet. With that said, I don't want to value bet too big, because he's gonna fold a lot of hands, because that king is a good turn barrel card, and that guy's not that good. He's just scared of the king actually. So I made it 32 here, and I should have made it even smaller. I should have made like a $20 bet, which accomplishes a couple of things. First, he might get curious with a middle pair, something like 7s or 8. Second, he might check raise me. He might brain freeze here and just be, hey, 20, that's too small, I'm gonna check raise him, because bad players do this a lot when they're faced with a small bet. And I could have called in position and tried to catch another bluff on the river. And third, it builds a pot. So if I'm hitting the flush on the river, which is pretty much the nuts, and which is very well concealed if I hit it, because it's a backdoor draw and nobody expects you to have that backdoor flush draw, well, the pot will be bigger, and I can make more money on the river. So I should have bet something like 20 here, just for him to brain freeze or to be curious and to build the pot. I bet 32, which is, in my opinion, a bit too much. But that's a small mistake. He ended up folding. I should have bet a little smaller, but you see the point of making that small bet on that turn. Because if I bet too big, I think he's gonna fold. Against a good player here, I will bet bigger. I will bet like 60, like I'm second barreling that king. And he would call like a pair like 9-8 or something like that, because you know that I'm second barreling that king very, very, very often. So I'm gonna bet very big as value, and plus I have a flush draw too if he's just slow playing or something like that. So that would have been a good spot for value, since he knows that the king is a good second barrel card. Here I hope my ace jack is good. Woohoo! These type of things happen more often in happy hour, because I am happier in happy hour. Happy hour. Video has been running for 53 minutes so far. I'm gonna try and make it an hour long. Try to play at least one more interesting hand. Here the guy min raises under the gun. I'm just gonna isolate him with a re-raise under the gun +1. We're more than 100 big blinds deep, and I think he really sucks. So I want to isolate him as much, especially with these type of hands, and play like a nice spot in position with a good hand. The other people in the hands, they're pretty much all nits, and I'm not really afraid. People see an under the gun raise and then under the gun +1 3-bet. They're just folding everything. So I just wanted to isolate the professor. It's really professor. I'm not pronouncing professor like a retard. Turtlicious is gonna raise on table 3. No. So a nice starting in. That's a standard trying to check it down type of spot, I think. So I'm gonna try and check it down. No value to get there. A 35-16 guy is calling a lot with ace anything from the big blind. So the flop pretty much in his range. Yeah, I might get some value actually with a nice $5 bet. He might be curious with anything. He didn't have an ace for sure. Might have a jack, but he might call with anything else also. Here I'm gonna 3-bet for the entertainment purposes. And he's been pretty tight. Before I started the video, actually, we were like 3-betting and 4-betting each other, like there was no tomorrow. But I don't know. He might be afraid to do a mistake on my video. So he's playing pretty tight. Tighter than he was a couple of minutes ago. I think I'm just gonna play one last big blind every table. Woohoo, pair of king. I'm gonna value bet him to death. Value. Turn lots of draws and stuff like that, so value. Open here, I'm gonna bet on table 1. And he folds to the second one. Here calling with my jack 4 would be really bad, because if I hit my draw is obvious, my end is obvious, I don't get any value from worse things and I'm out of position. So it will be really bad to call and try to spike my open. Take Chip just arrived in the room. I'm living with Take Chip actually, and he's had his best day ever today, because he lost 150k and it didn't even tilt, so it was pretty interesting to watch. It was fun to watch. He was laughing while having his worst day ever. but he's a happy person. Are you happy, Philip? A little bit. He said a little bit. A little bit. He's happy. Happy, Philip. So, like I said, I'm gonna just uncheck the edibles blind button. Raise here. Jeez, these guys are tight. I would have loved to have an example of like mad 3-betting, mad 4-betting, and 5-bet bluffing hands today for this video, but I've just got 4 really tight tables, which is pretty boring. But next time, guys, if you want other videos, other standard videos like that of just 4 tables of NL400, just tell it to me. I don't have any problems doing this vid over and over again. I just love to do them, and I'm really comfortable doing them. So if there's a lot of demand, I'm gonna do them a lot. So I'll just try to raise anything until the end so something interesting happens. I'm gonna see bet that against a random guy who's just calling. Against San Antonio, he's tight. He probably has a nice hand when a 16-12 race, but probably doesn't have a clue on how to play out of position on 3-bet pots, especially deep. So I'm just gonna try and take advantage of that, and I'll play him after the flop if he's calling pre-flop. And I don't think I didn't see him 4-bet yet, so I don't think he's 4-bet bluffing a lot. If he 4-bets, well, too bad for me. And he's folding again. These guys just have fold to every single one of my 3-bets so far. Pretty funny, but pretty boring. But when you have such tables, guys, try to take advantage of that and try to 3-bet as much as you can. Like you just saw in that video, it's really easy to just 3-bet, take down the end, or 3-bet, get called, and C-bet and take down the end. You're gonna do a lot of money like that. Here, interesting spot against 4 players. We're 4 to the flop. I flop pair of aces, but my kicker isn't really good, and if no one else has a ace, I'm not getting any value here. So I prefer just checking it for... Okay, here my ace 8 first. If I have like ace king or ace queen here, I'm betting pretty much always, because I want value from the other aces, but having an 8 kicker with my ace, I think a check is better, because I don't get any value from any end on that flop. Product, not for I'm losing my words. I prefer just checking it for pot control. That's it. That's the word I was searching for. And hope that someone is gonna try a random bluff on me on 4 people. Okay, here on the turn I ended up just cold calling because I was thinking about a random bluff, like I said, and I might have been afraid of an higher ace as well. But I should have raised that turn probably, because it's most likely on holding, when I think about it afterwards, is a draw. There are so many draws. There are 2 flush draws plus a couple of straight draws. So I probably should have raised just big enough for him not to have the odds to draw to a flush draw or a straight draw here. That would have been the better play. Calling is not that bad because it ends up having the result that you'll see. But with this board, I should have probably raised the turn. It's not a big mistake, just a small one. I think the call, if the 9 was like a 9 of hearts, the call would have been better, actually. And I'm kind of saying this because from what I've seen from this guy, I think is a pretty passive opponent. If he had been a very aggressive opponent, I would probably just call every time, even though I know he could have a draw a lot. I know that if he misses his draw, he's gonna fire the river again so often. Here I'm saying that he's not gonna refire the river as a bluff, and that's because it's a passive opponent. So that changes a lot the dynamic of the end, knowing who you're against. Now he's a passive opponent, so I should have raced against an aggressive opponent. The call is certainly the better play. Another flush reverse. Don't think he's ever bluffing. If he's betting, I'm probably gonna fold. He's not betting. Probably have some value here. 30 bucks. He might call. He's gonna call with any pair actually, because he won't have a clue of what I'm having. That's just a nice little value. Whee! I wouldn't do this against a good player, because a good player will know that I pretty much never have a good end, and I probably always have an ace low, because I'm playing my ace low ends on that board way too often like that. But against another bad player like that, I think that was the best way to play it. He had tens actually. If I had bet the flop, I would have made him fold his tens, but now I made some money on them, so that was good. Last hand, ace queen. Probably gonna lose a buy-in since it's the last hand. Come on. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, any comments, anything that I've done wrong, anything that I've done good, anything, just tell it to me and I'll be more than happy to answer you. So this was DrGiggy for Blue Fire Poker. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye. Goodbye.